Hi friends, Caitlin here with Sass and Stitch Crochet, and today I'll be walking you through a tutorial for the Mayfield blanket. This is an ultra very beginner baby blanket. This could be your first ever crochet project, so if you're new to crochet, welcome to my channel. This blanket features just a soft, subtle texture that is comprised of just 2 simple crochet stitches. Finally, we'll give a border at the very end for a nice clean finish, and you're ready to use this for your squishy babe or gift it along to a friend for their new squishy babe in their life. Okay, let's go ahead and go over the materials needed for this project. We are using bulky weight yarn, which is a category 5. If you flip to your yarn label, you'll notice a skein with a number 5 on it. That means it's bulky. I am using, sorry, my camera is wacky. I am using Sweet Delight Chunky, which is from Hobby Lobby, and this is the colorway Strawberry Quartz. I am also using a 6mm crochet hook. You'll need a flexible measuring tape, a plastic yarn needle, and lastly, you'll need a pair of scissors. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So again, if you are absolutely beginner new to crochet, I would recommend you head to my channel real quick before we get started, and I have a how to crochet for absolute beginners video. I would recommend starting there, and then you can immediately come over to this video to start on your first project. Okay, so we'll be starting with a slip knot. Again, in my absolute beginner video, I show you a more beginner-friendly method of doing a slip knot, but this is just how I personally do my slip knots. I make a loop with my yarn. I'll reach through the loop with my 2 fingers, grab my yarn tail, and pull that through to make a new loop. This is a slip knot because if you pull either of the 2 sides, you can loosen or tighten your loop. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook into my loop and tighten my loop around my crochet hook, but not too tight. You want to still be able to move your loop around freely. Now we're going to work on our starting foundation chain. Your foundation chain is what determines the width of your baby blanket. Now, I do have sizing recommendations in the free blog post for this pattern. So if you would like some guidelines, you can go and check that out. But otherwise, you can honestly chain to create any width baby blanket you'd like, or even a full-sized adult blanket. It does not have to be a baby blanket. So for the sake of the video, I am not going to be doing a proper width for a baby blanket. I'll just be doing a smaller section, but you're going to chain for the whole width that you'd like your baby blanket to be. And what we need to do is chain an even number of chains. It can be any number as long as it's even. So to make a chain, I've got my working yarn in my left hand here. And I've got my tail attached as well. Make sure you're not picking up your tail. You're just going to leave that alone. And to make a chain, you're going to yarn over your work, going from the back around top to the front. And then you're going to pull that loop through the loop on your hook. I'll show you again here. You're going to yarn over from back to front and pull that new strand through the loop on your hook. That is a chain. Again, yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. Let's do a couple more chains, and then I will pause and show you how to count your chains. You don't have to actively count along the way, so if you accidentally lose count, it is very easy to check back in with your work. Okay, so once my camera gets into focus here, hold on, come on, there we go. So you'll notice that there are these sets of V's going up this work here. Each V makes 1 chain. So we've got these 2 sides of the V, that's 1 chain here, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here right at the very top. This loop on your hook does not count as a chain. So far I have 5 chains, and I'm going to chain until I get to 20. This is just for me making a sample size to show you on the video, but you're going to chain any even number until you get to your desired width of your baby blanket. Again, if you need some references, you can check the free blog post that is linked in this description box for some different sizing guidelines. So keep working until you're done with your starting chain, and then I will meet you back when we're ready to start row 1. Okay, so now we're going to move on to starting the first row. So you see these V's here that I pointed out earlier. This is the front view of your chains. I actually want you to flip to the back side. Flip your work over and you'll find these back bumps. We're going to be working into those instead. Sometimes working into the back bumps makes for a cleaner start to your crochet work. The first back bump is right under this working yarn up here. My camera is a little out of focus and this yarn is kind of glowing, so it's a little hard to tell at the moment. Here we go. The first back bump sits right beneath your working yarn strand right here. We're going to skip that one. We're going to skip that first back bump and we're actually going to start working into the second back bump. So I want you to insert your hook into that second back bump. So you have 2 loops on your hook now. Now we're going to yarn over and we're going to catch that loop with our hook and pull through just 1. So we still have 2 loops on our hook. Now we'll yarn over again and we'll pull through 2 loops. That is a single crochet. And we're going to be single crocheting all the way across this first row. So locating the next back bump, we'll insert our hook until we have 2 loops on our hook here. Yarn over, bring that strand from back to front, yarn over, and pull through 1. Yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. That is another single crochet stitch. Let's do that together one more time. Locating the next back bump, we'll insert, yarn over, and pull through 1, yarn over, and pull through 2. Continue single crocheting in every single back bump across your foundation chain until the very end of the row, and I will meet you back at the end to continue instructions. So I'm near the end of my work and I have one more back bump left to work into. Let me get my camera in focus. It is just not having a good day today. Sorry, everybody. Okay, there we go. I've got one last back bump here, so I'm going to do one more single crochet. And here we have my first row completed. At this point, you should have 1 stitch less than your starting chain count. So like I started with 20 chains and I should have 19 stitches by this point. If you started with 52 chains, you should have 51 stitches. So it's always going to be 1 less than your starting chain. So to count your stitches, so this is the side view. I want you to turn to the top view and you'll see these V's. Each of these V's represents 1 single crochet stitch. So the loop here does not count as a stitch. We'll be starting right at the base of the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 single crochet. Okay, so I'm on track. Every single row from here on out will have the same number of stitches. So I personally should always have 19 stitches. Now we're ready to start row 2. We're going to start off by doing a chain 1. So to work a chain, you yarn over and you pull through the loop on your hook. Now we're going to flip our work back to the beginning. And we're ready to start row 2. So this is the chain we just made, and this is the first crochet stitch. We skip the first chain and we work right into that first crochet stitch. We're going to work a single crochet here. So insert your hook into that hole And you'll notice that you've picked up these two sides of the V. You need to make sure you pick up both sides of that V. This acts as one stitch. Even though it's two strands, it's going to act as one together. You'll yarn over and you'll pull through that stitch. Yarn over and pull through two. That is a single crochet. Okay, for the next stitch, we're going to do something different. We are going to learn the treble crochet stitch. In order to do this, you're going to start off by yarning over 2 times. So that's yarn over once, yarn over again. So you should have 3 loops on your hook. Now insert into that next stitch. Personally, I like to hold my right index finger, the one I'm holding my hook with. I'm going to put my right index finger on that last loop that I just made to hold it still. Insert into that next stitch, yarn over, and pull through the stitch. So I should have 4 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Now I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops again. So I have 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops again. And that completes the stitch. So basically a treble crochet is just a really tall stitch. The treble crochets are what will help us create this mini bobble effect, and I'll show you how that works in just a moment. We're going to be working another single crochet next, which is going to pull that treble crochet down and make it kind of curl out. That's what's going to create these bobbles. So let's continue on. We just worked a treble crochet. My camera is yet again giving me issues. I apologize, everybody. In the next stitch, we're going to work a single crochet. So just insert, yarn over, and pull through 1, yarn over, and pull through 2. In the next stitch, we're going to do another treble crochet. So yarn over 2 times so that I have 3 loops on my hook. We're going to insert into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through 1. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we are only left with 1 loop on our hook. So watch, we'll do yarn over and pull through 2. Again, yarn over and pull through 2. Again, yarn over and pull through 2 till we have just this 1 loop left on our hook. Okay, so now we're going to do another single crochet, and we're going to keep alternating between single crochet, treble crochet, single crochet, treble crochet, all the way until the end where we're going to do a single crochet in the last stitch. So single crochet, and now a treble crochet. Yarn over twice, insert, yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over and pull through 2 until you only have 1 loop left on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, continue repeating single crochet, treble crochet, single crochet, treble crochet until the very end, ending with a single crochet at the end. And if you flip to the opposite side of your work, you can already see these little bobbles starting to form here with those treble crochets. This is the effect that you're going to be creating. Okay, continue on and I will meet you back at the end. Okay, I've completed row 2. I've got all that very nice texture on the back side of my work. And now I'm ready to start row 3. So I just worked my last stitch. Now I'm going to work a chain 1 at the end of the row. Every single row will have a chain 1 at the very end. Flip over my work, and now we're ready to start row 3. For row 3, we'll be working single crochet in each stitch across our work. Get my camera in focus, here we go. Now, this is just slightly more difficult if you're a beginner crocheter because these treble crochets kind of roll some of our stitches back. And so we have to pay extra attention to making sure we're putting our hook into the right place. So starting off in this first stitch here, which was a single crochet, then in the next stitch is our treble crochet, and this is where we kind of have to watch to find those two sides of the V. You might be tempted to just stick your hook right through this hole here, but what you actually want to do is you want to find the top 2 loops of your stitch. They kind of curl backwards a little bit, but you want to make sure you just get those top 2 loops and work a single crochet there. The next stitch is a single crochet, and then again single crochet in the next stitch. This is another treble space here. You don't want to go into that big hole. You want to just go into those top 2 loops of that stitch and work a single crochet. You'll keep working single crochets all the way across your row for the entirety of row 3. I will meet you back at the end. Okay, I've completed row 3. For the entirety of the rest of the pattern, you're going to be repeating rows 2 and 3 for the rest of your work. This is going to ensure that all of your little bobble textures end up on the same side of your work. So you'll notice on my blanket here that I have these nice rows of this lined up bobble textures. This is by repeating rows 2 and 3, 2 and 3, 2 and 3. Each section of 2 and 3 creates one of those complete bobble rows. So at the end of my row, as always, I am going to chain 1, turn my work, and I'm ready for another row 2 repeat. So we're just basically repeating row 2 from what we did earlier. So we're going to start with a single crochet in the first stitch, and then a treble crochet in the next stitch. Single crochet, and then treble crochet. Continue repeating single treble all the way across your work, ending with a single crochet in the last stitch. Okay, I've finished this row. Now I'm going to do a chain 1, turn, and now I'm ready for a row 3 repeat. Row 3 is just single crocheting in every single stitch across your work. And again, you just have to be mindful of those loops rolling to the back and making sure you're inserting into the correct place. It almost looks like you're inserting through the back, but I promise this is just the top. You just really do not want to insert into that hole of the treble crochet stitches. So go ahead and single crochet all the way across, and then continue repeating rows 2 and 3 until you reach your desired length for your blanket. You want to end on a single crochet row repeat, a row 3 repeat. So you should be looking at your textures when you finish your last row. So again, go ahead and work rows 2 and 3, 2 and 3, and then we're going to come back and I'll show you how to add this nice clean border around your entire blanket. Okay, I will meet you back to work on the border together. Okay, apologies if there is an audio shift. I am just recording my audio directly from my camera this time instead of doing a voiceover, so my apologies. I have worked a few more stitches, enough to show you how to do the border. Obviously, this is not the full size of my baby blanket. I've just made a swatch to show you. Again, if you would like some sizing recommendations, you can go find that blog post and find some size guidelines. Okay, so I have just worked a full single crochet row here across the front of my work. I'm looking at my textured side here, and now we're ready to start our edging. Now this is totally optional, but personally I like to have the clean edging as opposed to this messy edge here. Bringing over my completed blanket to compare, I think this nice clean edge just really gives that last finishing touch, rather than leaving this undone edge. So I promise it's not too scary. If you're a beginner, we'll get through it together. So it's just going to be a simple single crochet edging. So I worked my last stitch of this row here. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, And then I'm going to turn to look at the side of my work, and we're going to work across this part here. So what we're going to be doing is working 2 single crochet stitches into each of these bobble clusters at the end here, because if you'll remember, each of these bobbles make up 2 rows, the row with the single and treble crochets and then the row with the single crochets. So each of these bobbles make up 2 rows. That means we need 2 single crochet into the side of each of these. And working into the side of crochet rows is not an exact science, and it doesn't need to be. The way that I do it is not going to be exactly how you might go in. It's just all based on how you're feeling at the moment. I know that sounds totally obscure, but it'll make a little more sense when we get started. So basically, when you're working into the sides of crochet, you don't want to just pick up one loop. So for example, if I'm going to be putting a stitch here, you don't want to just pick up one loop like that, but you also don't really want to go into these obvious holes, because that could make your holes even bigger. So we have to find our way to kind of weasel our hook into some unique spaces. I'm going to start out right in the very corner by crocheting into this spot here and working a single crochet. And then I need another single crochet for this section right here. So I'm going to look at this right above this hole. You'll see kind of 2 loops right here. I'm going to try and get those 2 loops on my hook. Again, it's going to take a little finagling. It's going to be a little bit more time consuming, but it's totally worth it. That way I'm not going into this huge hole. I have a loop under here, and it won't make that hole more prominent. So I'll work a single crochet. And now I've worked 2 stitches for this first bobble row here. And then you'll see kind of there's a nice spot here to work into that's not too obvious of a hole. I'll single crochet there. And then we've got that same spot we just worked in with this obvious hole and these 2 loops. I'm going to pick up the 2 loops. I'll do a single crochet there. So I would look for these 2 general space along this first side. I'll look for those 2 spaces in every set of bobble clusters. So there's this kind of smaller hole that is totally fine to work into because it's not that defined. And then this big hole, I'll just try to pick up these 2 loops and single crochet. So far I've done, so let's say for example my blanket is with these 5 sets of bobbles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to need 10 stitches across this side. If you have 50 bobble rows, you're going to need 100 stitches down this side. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need 7. 8, 9, and your last one should be as close to the corner as you can get, 9, 10. Okay, now I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to turn. Doing that chain 1 just helps you round that corner without pulling that corner too tight. So now this is kind of an easy spot to do your edging, because this is your foundation chain. So basically you're just going to be working into the bottom V's of your foundation chain. So the first one, I've got my slip knot here, so here's the first one. I'm going to just insert and just pick up those 2 V's at the bottom of your foundation chain and work a single crochet. The next one, working on the bottom of your work is always going to be pretty defined because you already have that set number of stitches, and you just work 1 single crochet into each of those foundation chains. So go ahead and work all the way across your foundation chain, and I will meet you back at the end for the next side. Okay, I've worked all the way across my foundation and into that last chain. I will chain 1 and turn to my third side here. Now this is another side that's going to be a little ambiguous because we don't have exact places to work into here. I usually always do my first single crochet of a side in the same spot that I did my last one from the last side, because that should ideally be your corner space. So I'm going to do one there. And then from here, again, you want to be working 2 single crochet into the side of each of these bobble cluster rows. So if this is my first one, I might go up to this hump here, and I'll try to find 2 loops to work into near this area. Again, you don't want to go into any major holes, so like these holes are just a little too obvious for my preference. I find that if you work into the obvious holes, it'll just make those holes more pronounced. Okay, so I did that one. Now I kind of like this small hole here because it's a little bit tighter, kind of at the bottom of your next row of bobbles. This spot here, I'm going to work in here for my next one. That's number 3. And now number 4. And it's all about finding the spot that works for you and kind of keeping a little consistency, especially since this is just a 2-row repeat pattern. It's easy to find consistency up across the work. Again, this is just a little bit time consuming, but I promise it is worth it for that nice and polished look. Okay, I'm going to work my last single crochet. Go ahead and finish this last side. So pause the video, finish this last side, and I'll meet you back here at the end once you've done your last single crochet stitch for this side. Once you've done your last one, I want you to chain 1. We're going to turn our work to the top. Turn our work to the top, and now even though this last row that we worked before the edging, this was a full single crochet row, so normally I would just end here, but because the other 3 sides are pretty prominent, it's got kind of this flattened edge, and the top doesn't have that as much. Personally, I've chosen to work 1 more row of single crochet across the top here, and then I will complete my round, and I'll show you how to close out that round. So I've just done a chain 1 after the 3rd side. I'm going to work single crochets, which is just simply 1 into the top of each stitch along the top here. So go ahead and work along the top edge, and I will meet you back over here. Okay, I've worked into the last stitch. Now I want to identify the first stitch from this side. So you'll see here I've got those 2 stitches in the same spot. That means this one came from the top and I've already worked into it. This one is my chain 1 and this one is from the side. I want to insert my hook into that first stitch from the side, which is right here. And I'm going to work a slip stitch. So yarn over, pull through the stitch, and pull directly through the loop on your hook. I'm going to do that again for you if you're new to slip stitching. Insert your hook into that stitch and yarn over, and I want you to pull through both loops on your hook. Pull through the stitch and through the loop on your hook. That is a slip stitch. This just helps close up that round. Okay, now we're ready to fasten off. To fasten off your project, you'll chain 1, pull your loop out a little bit, And then you're going to take a pair of scissors and give yourself at least 8 inches length, and you're going to cut that yarn tail off. Once you've cut off your yarn end, take your loop and you're going to pull out that tail and give a nice good tug, and you've got your nice and secure crochet blanket. Now you'll take that yarn needle that we talked about at the beginning of the video, and this is what you're going to use to help hide your tails into your work so that you don't have these loose ends hanging out. Go ahead and thread your needle, and then flip your work to the back where it's the not textured side. Now we're going to be looking for loops along the surface of the back to weave in your work, your yarn tail. So I'm going to start with this one. This is another just ambiguous task. There's no right or wrong loops to work into. You're just kind of picking loops along the surface. The only thing you don't want to do is insert your hook all the way, insert your yarn needle all the way down through the opposing side of your work. You don't want to weave it down and up through the work. You want to just weave it across the surface of the back. So I'm just going to pick up some loops here that I see nearby and pull my yarn needle through. I might go down here. I don't really want to go all the way across or all the way down because that will just look a little bit more obvious in my opinion. I want to kind of zigzag around. You don't really want to go into the same loop more than once because that would be more obvious as well. The purpose of this is to hide your yarn end so that you would honestly never be able to even tell that it was there in the first place. Okay, once you feel comfortable with the length you've done, give it just kind of a tug. Sometimes when you're weaving you can pull your work together too tight and you want to just kind of make sure it's back to normal. Then take your scissors and you can cut the rest of the tail off right at the surface of your crochet work. So you'll do the same thing for your beginning tail. And then that's it. That is your crochet project. That was the Mayfield blanket. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you are a beginner, let me know how this was for you and if this was your first crochet project. I hope that you subscribe and be on the lookout for more beginner-friendly YouTube tutorials. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.